you doing, everybody? It's Ravie Davie here, the Fresh Prince of Drummond Square. I am joined with my partner,
Georgia.
And this is the 10 Years In podcast. Now we would like to welcome you all to episode 2.
Episode 2, wow, I can't believe we've actually made it to episode 2. I feel like last week was just full of nerves, but this week is just totally full of excitement. I was saying to David last week in the car that I was listening to a statistic about podcasts, and they were saying basically podcasts don't usually make it past episode 9. So I thought as long as we make it past episode 9, then we're doing pretty well. But he's reassured me that we'll be making it way beyond episode 9. We'll be having no breaks and we'll just be continuous till the next forever.
Go, as you do. But no, as we said last week, we were just going to go with the flow. We're going to just see how it goes. But Georgia has turned up with a 15-page document to obviously keep us on track and let us know how it's all going, which is probably good because I've been... there's going to be a theme here. I'm going to tell you that I'm busy, and Georgia's going to tell you that I think I'm the busiest man in the world. I don't think I'm the busiest man in the world, but last night I was in Manchester renting a wrestling ring out to somebody and also wrestling. Didn't get back to very late. Had hundreds of things to do at the weekend, just got a lot of stuff to do, and I've been doing all that while Georgia's been running all the podcast stuff, which obviously is very much appreciated, but as we always we said last week, we're very much yin and yang. I'm quite spontaneous and she is very rigid and likes to plan everything out. And I think with the podcast, it probably is good if we get a wee bit of planning, because if no, you'll just have me talking a lot of nonsense, going off and tangents and stuff like that, and blankly looking into the camera when I forget what I'm talking about, because that's what happens when you get ADHD.
No, you're right. I have showed up with a notepad today. This is obviously just one of my many notepads that I keep, but I've decided...
What do you mean one of the many that you keep?
No, I keep a couple of notepads, you know that? I've got a couple of active notepads that I keep they all go at the same time, so but they all get big meanings to them.
Aye, what font can you name?
I'm not going to tell you how many notepads I've got.
Right, fair enough.
No, I've got 4 notepads, but all completely relevant. I'll tell you what they're for. The first notepad I've got is for ticket sales for wrestling shows. The second notepad is for merchandise, what sort of sizing things we've got, because if people come up to the merchandise stand and try and buy a t-shirt, I like to know what sizes we've got. Number 3 is a diary for your life, because I'm in charge of majority of things that you do in your life. Like this week, you're going to Bristol to wrestle for a couple of days, and then you got to Ireland for a couple of days, and then straight after that you got to Bristol, which means I need to be prepared, because obviously I pack all your clothes for you, and just make sure that perfect example, we're coming up here in the car the other noon, I said to you, how many kg have you got in weight for your suitcase? And you said, I've got no idea. Now, that's giving me anxiety, because I didn't book that flight, and I usually do book the flights. You've went ahead and booked a flight, and you've got no idea how many kg you've got and have to book.
I actually booked 3 flights. I booked the flight to Ireland, then I booked the flight for Ireland to Bristol, and I booked the flight for Bristol to back home.
So people always say to me as well, like, why do you organise his full life for him? And basically I organise his full life for him to keep me sane, because if I don't do these things, basically what will happen is he'll be in Germany and I'll get a mate. So if he's packed his case and he goes to Germany to wrestle, and bear in mind I'm in Govan, and I get a phone call, I've left my t-shirt, and I think, what am I meant to do? I'm not there. So I've started just organising his full life and try to be in control of everything, because it saves me a sore head later. And then my 4th notepad, which is my favourite notepad, is a journal about myself. And it's my own life. And actually, this is my favourite notepad because it's the only thing I can talk to in that house that won't answer me back, won't give me cheek, and won't ask me to do anything for them. So yes, I've got 4 notepads. If it does
start answering you back, that's when you know you finally went. Not a wee bit cuckoo. But no, it's actually funny that you said that. So you've got a diary for me, obviously, to make sure mine's, and then you've got your own one. Some would maybe say that's your own journal or whatever. But going back to the bit you said about how I could be in Germany and I'm saying about my t-shirt, it's actually, this is me being spontaneous, this actually reminds me of a story which I think would be quite good for the podcast. I was one time wrestling. It was so I'd made my wrestling debut the night before my first ever singles match, and
I'm
I'd
laughing 'cause I know what you're going to say.
impressed some people that much that I'd been offered to wrestle in Newcastle for the biggest wrestling company in Europe at the time. But obviously I'd only wrestled my first ever match the night before, so I just assumed I'm only going down to help out with this company. I'm not going to be doing any wrestling or anything. So I didn't bring my wrestling gear, even though there's a rule in wrestling, you always bring your wrestling gear. You never know who's going to pull it or anything like that. But I didn't bring mine, so I got a phone call saying, "Oh, Davie, impressed last night with your match, really liked it and stuff like that. I'm going to put you and Sam Barber on first in the pre-show to see how you go." So I'm like, "Alright, cool. What were I doing with my wrestling gear?" He's like, "Well, you know, get your wrestling gear." I'm like, "No, left it in the house, didn't think I'd be on a show." So obviously I've hung up, as soon as I hung up my phone, I'm on the phone to Georgia, panicking like, "I need to do something, I need that way to get my wrestling gear. There's no way I can't make this match." So Georgia, being the absolute legend she done, is went and met up with a wrestling referee that she'd never met at the time, didn't know or anything like that, with my wrestling gear, handing them outside of Witherspoons up in the town to make sure that I had my wrestling gear. To be fair, that's probably where it all started. After that moment, Georgia's probably like, "You know what, I'm just going to deal with his wrestling gear 24/7 because I can't be bored going to a Witherspoons on a Saturday to drop off wrestling gear to some mad guy I don't know." Probably gave her like a high level anxiety, that. So that's probably the reason why she drops my stuff, does all my stuff for me, and to obviously stop me moaning.
Aye, so it has been a busy week. But one thing I will say, it's been a busy week for me and Curtis, because actually behind the scenes, me and Curtis here have been working like elves to try and get this podcast set up. And you've took absolutely nothing to do with it.
That's a lie, right, that is a lie. I've shared stuff on social media and that.
So he shared a couple of things for us, but one thing I really took control of in the past week was trying to get this logo set up. And if you are watching logo on YouTube, you might see me next to the real Slim Shady, because I don't know what happened. But the idea that we had for the logo was that we wanted it to be quite fun, no too serious, and we were like, right, okay, we'll pick a couple of pictures of us, we'll send it off on this website. And the guy ended up coming back, and the first one he made was he gave David grey hair. And I thought, wow, you went for Papa Davie to the real Slim Shady real quick. I ended up on Friday night having to go backstage while David was wrestling, get a photo of David with his hair and get the guy to remake it. Now, David's hair looks like bright, it's like a bright yellow colour, kind of a bit orangey.
He's had the hairline. He's had the hairline, not me. My first thought was, "I'm Ravie Davie, yes, I'm the real Ravie, or you are the Ravie Davies adjusting my time. So won't the real Ravie Davie please stand knocking her?" But anyway, I actually liked it. Obviously, Georgia was saying how she's went away. She got that excited to get it made. Some of you might not actually noticed. It was Curtis that actually pointed out. But Georgia's not actually went and got the real PDF file. If you look, we've got the one that Fiverr send there to make sure that you don't actually use it because you've not paid for it yet. So Georgia obviously just being excited, posted it right in. So for the first one, I feel like we should just be raw and unfiltered ways, not because that's just like me and Georgia are. So first week, even though she's went and put all that time and effort in, we've went and got it doesn't it? Know what I mean? Doesn't mean they're able to tell you, I know, not I mean, that's me unprofessionalism, not I mean, as I said, but no, gonna have to a great start. It says $5 on it, but next week it'll be the fixed one. So if any have got the good HD tellies with the 8K and all that, I'm sorry. And if you're watching or you're listening, sorry, on Spotify, you'll probably enjoy this a bit better, because or click onto our YouTube and you'll be able to get a good laugh. But thank you, Curtis, for all your help in the past week. I'm sure going forward, David will be a bigger help. This is not what he does. He just rocks up. He's the face of it all and he gets all the credit. But anyways, since we've sort of made an Instagram page last week, some people have wrote in and asked us a couple of questions. Now, we're really big on the fact that we want the people who are going to listen to our podcast sort of shape the way the podcast is going to go. Me and David have got a couple of ideas and maybe wee segments and things that we want to talk about, but probably we recognise for the first couple of episodes, not everybody knows us, and people are interested in knowing stories. So one of the things that's come up a couple of times is about your wrestling, funny enough, but basically what somebody wrote in and just said, how did David get into wrestling and how did you adjust to it all, Georgia? So I thought that's a good question because they can hear it for both sides, so I'll let you go
first, but if you're going to go on for a tangent, you're getting pulled right back. Ravie Davie.
If we're going into pure, like, 'cause I've said this in every podcast, I don't know why I'd be on my own podcast right about it, but my mum died when I was 6 years old. Not, I mean, if you didn't know that, big shock or not, I mean, we'll probably go into that at a later date. But she died when I was 6 years old. Sad, traumatic. Right, fair enough. But that's not what we're here to talk about. So after that, wrestling was what just made me stop greeting. And I was greeting all the time, lost my mind. You know what I mean? Whenever I watched wrestling, but the big characters, all that, I loved it. Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, all these guys. My God, man, who needs a man when you've got the WWF? Know what I mean? At the time, obviously that's a joke, but that's how I deal with my trauma and that, and all. I make wee jokes about it. But anyway, who needs it? Not when you've got all these guys watch, big muscly bound guys in pants, man. Who needs parents when you've got that to look after? You know what I mean? So that's what I done all my life. Watched it, even when I was a wee teenager, a kid on to my mates, then I watched it, but secretly I was up at 2 in the morning watching Raw as well and SmackDown, that loving life. And then takes another turn for worse. My nana then dies, know what I mean? And I thought, how am I going to make my wee nana proud? Because it's awkward, isn't it? But my wee nana passed away, and I went, how do I make my nana proud before beyond the grave? She pretty much, as soon as she seen my mum dying, she put all her money into wrestling because she noticed that was the thing that made me happy. So how do I make her proud? I've fun documentary on the BBC. Grado on that one, and I seen Grado, I was like, aye, right, if he can do it, I can do it. Know what I mean? He's a big boy, you know what I mean? He's actually bigger than me, and I'm funnier than him. If he's a top guy, I can be the best at this. Obviously, I've met Grado since then, and he's actually is one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life, and the both of us are probably about the same size. But at the time, me having a big ego, I thought I could be the best at it. So I went to be a wrestler. Turned out I was actually not too bad at it, and then 10 years later I've got my own wrestling company, my own wrestling school. Well, no, my own wrestling company, Georgia shares that with me. My own wrestling school, and I get to wrestle all over the world, and I even get to like go places with my pals and stuff like that. So it's not bad. That's the condensed version. As I said, we'll break it all down in that, but I actually think this question mare's wanting to know how Georgia dealt with all that rather than me. There's other podcasts where I've talked about that stuff. Whereas this one right now, the woman wants to know, or the guy, how did you deal with all that? Well, see,
yeah.
intuition.
I don't know why I'm not saying people's names. Maybe we should say their names and then, because obviously they're asking questions, we should maybe.
What was her name?
Well, I didn't write this down because I just wrote down the question, but I mean, gone for I'm learning. It's a learning curve.
Is it a school?
Not about perfection.
About performance.
But yeah, so obviously on the back of David's chat there, I think a lot of people think that the wrestling came and then I came along. Obviously, he's loved wrestling all his life, and but when he went for his first training session, I actually was there and I dropped him off at the first training session, and from that point on, it was just a complete addiction for him, and I really knew and recognised it was going to take out his life. He actually came back from one of the first training sessions he'd done, and he went to a seminar, and basically if you're not familiar with wrestling, you're laughing because you know what I'm going to say. So a seminar is basically when they get people who are maybe more experienced to do training sessions with the trainees.
But for example, say you were a chef, right? Know what I mean? And your work brings in Gordon Ramsay to teach you. Know what I mean? That would be like a seminar with Gordon Ramsay. So in wrestling, you'd do ones with, for example, the last one I done was with a TNA heavyweight champion called Moose, who's just actually lost his world title. So they are big. They're very good opportunities to try and learn more, as wrestling can be like a big wide variety of stuff. But sorry for I'm just thought.
That's all right. So he came home and let me know that in this particular seminar he was in, like at the end they do like a question and answer session, and then they'll give the trainees some advice. So the wrestler at the time had said to them, what you need to quote, what was the quote again?
Right, so basically people were asking questions, and one of them asked, what's the best bit of advice you'd ever get a wrestler, right? And this is why it did stick out to me as well, because I thought it was a bit random. But he said, if you're want to be a wrestler, you really want to make it in this, don't bother with girlfriends and stuff like that, because nobody will be able to, no one will understand your passion for wrestling. So I'm sitting there like, oh man, I really like George. I'm going to go home and dump him, man. It's be a clash here, I know what I mean, man. Poor lassie. I just wonder how she'll take that. But then at the end of the caveat, he's like, unless they were with you at the start, then they will get it because they'll see the drive and everything that it takes to get there. I was like, oh well, she's lucky, I mean, she gets to stick about.
I thought, thank fuck, I've lasted another day.
But I know I genuinely, George will probably tell you, if that guy never caveated that at the end and said,
I was getting dumped,
I was
basically.
going home, and me and Georgia probably wouldn't be filming this podcast right now, you know what I mean? I don't know, I probably wouldn't be a wrestler, to be fair either. Georgia is a big part of the wrestling career I've got, you know what I mean? But aye, it would be 10, lucky if there was 2 years in, know what I mean, after that, but aye.
So I obviously had a lot of learns over the years. He started wrestling in 2015, and then a couple of months later he then made his wrestling debut, which basically meant that he was getting his first match. And I remember going along with me and my pal Charlie, and I didn't know what to expect, and I just thought, like, this is so weird, because everybody comes out in their costumes, they've all got these characters, everybody's different, and the suspense was building and building for him to come out, and then he finally comes out. He just acts completely like himself, just a bit more heightened, and then he won. And I can remember flying off the seat, especially when I'm so quiet, so embarrassed and shy, and I was actually screaming for the top of my lungs. And then I was like, well, I need to calm down and sit back down and watch the next match. And then for then it was just history. Like, after that, he just got better and better. He then, I remember a real sort of, probably the turning point as well was when you got to go down to Newcastle and wrestle, and that was such a big match for you as well. And you were wrestling in the O2, and I was so nervous for you. My heart was beating so fast, and when you finally came out, I was just standing at the side of the ring just greeting. I always remember that, because I was like, I don't know if that was like nerves or what that brought that on, but everybody's like standing cheering, and there's just this wee lassie in the corner with tears actually streaming down my face. And then since then, I'd say I've probably been to like 80% of the matches. The other 20% is matches that I genuinely haven't been able to go to, like ones that are maybe where I'm not able to go.
Or in England or stuff, or places that if by the time, because we take a lot of the shows as well, because he loves it, but there's just some shows that, like, for example, I need to look a lot of it as well, especially nowadays. It's not as bad because obviously I run the companies and stuff like that with the ringing, but if I was working for a company and they had to put the ring away at like 2 a.m, I'd need to go and do that, obviously, because it's just part of the job. So like Georgia and Bo driving back for like Inverness or somewhere late at night, I wouldn't really be happy with that either, not I mean? So just a lot of things like that. But if she could have been at 100%, I'm sure she would have been.
I know everybody always says to me, like, does that not annoy you? And I'm like, no, actually annoys me more when I'm not there than when I, like people will think, oh, that's probably an inconvenience for you, but it's completely no. And I think probably which makes it really easy is because Bo's 12, and me and Bo have been going to the shows together to see David since Bo's been like 2. And he was terrified at the start, but over the couple of months he just got better and better and his confidence grew. And me and him have just been like wee travel companions for years, and it's still going all these years later. I think at that Newcastle show, that's when it kind of, I realised it was going to be big, because that's probably when, so that's 2016 when you started getting stopped in the street where people were asking for your autograph. And I remember at the time you signed your first autograph in Newcastle on the Windy at Greg's, and you wrote this signature for a wrestling fan, and you wrote Ravie Davie, young Linty Gaucho. Which is the gang in the place that we grew up in Govan. And I'm like, these people have got no idea who young Linty Gaucho is. And he used to write like an actual like mention. The way he would always write it. So that was so funny, and that will always stick with me. And then the years have just obviously went on and on. He's got better and better, and the matches and stuff have got better. I mean, I feel like everybody in the world is an in the closet wrestling fan, because any person that I've ever took to wrestling has loved it and they've always wanted to come back. But now I'm like, never watched wrestling before, but I'm like David's biggest critic at the end of the matches. I'm like, you were shite, or you were really good, you done this, you done that. I also recognise as well now that wrestling sometimes isn't about who won, but it's like fan interaction. Did they love it? How he's perceived, like how, like, it's like a complete show. It's no it's not like boxing where you're just going in there to kill each other. It's a complete art.
Well, that's the biggest thing you say. Is like, a lot of people do. That's one of the biggest questions I get asked when about wrestling. It's like, do you not get annoyed if? It's actually my favourite things, like, especially when it's some mad wee guy that's built like a fiver, right? And they'll go like that to you. Do you know heavy annoy you when you need to lose, mate? if that was me, man, I wouldn't be able to do that. No, I mean, I would just end up getting all raging and battering them, man, and just winning the match and that, mate. No, I mean, man, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I don't know how you could. And I just think I'm not out there to win or lose. It's not. I mean, if you know about wrestling, you know what it's like. I'm not going to sit and educate you about something that you pretty much should be educated about if you're a fucking adult. Know what I mean? But I'm not going out there to win or lose. I'm going out there to put on a performance, and my mindset to it is I'm going to go out there. And wait, if I've got 2 minutes or 22 minutes, I'm going to be the most entertaining part of that show. It doesn't matter. Some guy, I might not always be the most entertaining part of the show, but I feel like if I go out with that mindset, I'm going to go away with something. I'm going to leave the show with people talking about me. People are going to, they're going to be entertained. I might not be the most entertaining like I wanted to be, but if I go out there with a go, I try to be the most entertaining, I will at least have entertained people because I've gave it my all and I've tried to come out with that. And that's how it seems to work. Lately, I've wrestled in places like Italy and France, and I don't really get nervous at all. It's not something that I ever do. I feel like big headed or what. I've got main character syndrome. I always feel like I should be in these big situations. I might always say, George will tell you, other wrestlers tell you, I'm definitely I'm a cup final type of wrestler. If it's a big opportunity, I always go and smash it. And I was in Italy and France and that, and I was not really nervous, but I was just like, what if they don't understand me, and what if my I don't translate? And I just thought, you know what, just go out and be yourself, and if you go out there and try and be the most entertaining person on the show, that might come out. And before you know it, I had half a side of the crowd in Italy all behind me, and I got a standing ovation in France, and that is what wrestling's all about. If you go out there try to be the best wrestler and beat everybody, it's probably not going to work for you. But see if you go out there and try to be the most entertaining, you will entertain some people, and then before you know it, you get to go more places.
Aye, that is a good point. Like when we do travel and go places, and people that come up to you and say that they watch you, like in Italy and all this stuff, it's just amazing. Like one guy travelled for hours when we were in Italy in May.
I travelled from Livorno to Milan where we were. He came with Ravie Davie signs. He said he'd been watching me since 2016. Said he's Ravie Davie's biggest fan for Italy, which I mean, I'm not going to argue. Anybody says they're in Scotland, they're like, I'm your biggest fan. Like, well, my wee boy is my biggest fan. You know what I mean? But in Italy, I believe that guy probably was my biggest Italian wrestling fan. Maybe not new, no. I mean, maybe I entertained other people and they might be bigger fans than him. But this guy came all the way from Livorno. He's a teacher and that as well. He loves all the stuff I'm doing with the school and all that as well. He wants to use me as part of his dissertation. So it's just mad stuff like that, knowing that you can, with the mindset that I've got to try to entertain people, I can do more than that, and I can inspire people and stuff like that.
Definitely. To bring this back as well, one of the things that I found hardest to adjust to was that because I'm so shy, people coming up to you constantly and asking you for pictures and stuff. I shouldn't be on this podcast right now. I should be out there as a professional photographer, because the amount of photos I've took with him,
don't know about professional.
the amount of photos that people just came up to him and be like, all right, Ravie Davie, and then just hand me their phone and say, can you take a photo of me with him? And I'm just like, I no bother. So that's just happened like hundreds of times over the years, and sometimes there has been the most gorgeous lassies that have come up, and he's looking at me and he's like, am I allowed to do this? I'll always remember you were wrestling in Comic-Con in the SEC, and this absolutely stunning lassie came up, and I thought, she's not walking towards us. I thought, she's actually coming towards us. And then she's like, can you take a photo of me with him? And David just looked at me as if, am I allowed? He's like, please let me, Georgia, come on, I want my photo taken with her. And
obviously, isn't it? Obviously, I would never like to have somebody get knocked back for a fan, because even though they would think that I'm a dick. No, I mean, I feel bad because there's times that people come up to me at shows and ask for photos like that. I'll get it at the end, and I still feel bad about that because they feel like I'm rejecting them. But I'm just saying, if I take your photo now, well, I'm doing this job, I don't need to date with everybody. But anyway, back to that. Sorry, just because she's making me as I get my pictures with my sexy birds.
No, it's a joke. I'm joking. But
if I never jumped with my throat off for saying the word sex. I mean, I'll just remember, right?
I was
Which
waiting
I don't, no.
I was waiting till we get outside for that. But no, not to bring it down either. But obviously, early years it's been particularly hard as well, because when David has been chasing this dream, it's not always brought along the best financial situation. And I spoke about that last week as well, where he would start jobs, he would be in these jobs for maybe a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and then before you know it, he would have quit the job, and we would always be back at the start. So this kind of made it really hard, because he's chasing a dream. It's no always, for years it probably didn't bring in enough money to be in a situation where he could leave other jobs. And I used to always find, like, I would be worrying every month, because I would be like, right, okay, he started a job and he's enjoying it, but then it wouldn't work out, and I would always feel we're back at square one. But square one was always going to be, it was always going to be wrestling. It was just trying to navigate and find a way how we were going to get there. So it took years, but actually just shows what hard work and commitment is. I think it's sometimes hard as well when you're in a situation like me, where I don't have like big dreams or aspirations, or I'm no following this. But I mean, like, seeing you have such a drive for one thing, and even though it took years to get there, it's just shown that it's really paid off. So
that's the thing as well. But obviously, to add to that, I'm probably not the only person that you know that has dreams, but there's other people that have dreams out there. But there's people that say they want stuff, and then there's people who actually want it, and I without sounding like a dick or anything, like, I'm one of the people that want it, and there's people. So, like, for example, if I get offered a booking on a Friday down in Sunderland, for example, and I went into this new job that I've just started 2 weeks ago, and I say I need this Friday, I have 2 days away, I've just been asked to wrestle in Sunderland. The guy goes like that to you, no, you can't get it. I'll turn around and say, mate, I'm not asking you for the time off. I'm telling you, you've got 2 days to get me replaced for that shift, because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be a wrestler. And then he goes, well, you lose your job. I just be like, well, mate, that's not the end of the world. No, I mean, that's not what I want to do in my life. I want to be a wrestler. So if I'm in here on Friday when there's a wrestling show that I'm meant to be on, and I'm in here labouring or charity fundraising or working in farm foods or any of these jobs I've had, no, I mean, if I'm doing that when I'm actually meant to be doing somewhere wrestling, I'll hate myself for it, know what I mean? And without making it, going back to them, like, I always think you want to be happy in life. No, I mean, that should be the most important thing. Like, what's this point in having a job and having hundreds of money and all that if you're not happy? Know what I mean? So I've always been that way, that it doesn't matter how much money I make or anything, as long as I'm happy. And now that I've always went to the thing that makes me happy, wrestling, now all the hard work is paying off, and I feel like it is well worth it. But see, to be honest, and this is the thing that she might not have stuck around, but see if the wrestling never worked out, and I still wasn't making money, I'd still be doing it. And if there was never any avenue to make money for it, I probably still would have been that way, that I'd still been jumping from job to job, hoping one day I'll get something for it. But I feel like if you want something in life, that's the attitude that you need to have, because there's hundreds, you don't realise there's hundreds of opportunities in all these different walks of life that you want to be involved in, but people are only going to give you out if they don't trust you to work hard for it. And it's even this year especially, there's a lot, even nerd doors getting opened for me, because people are just seeing he's a hard worker and I want him on my team to make my job easier.
I totally agree.
And that's why I've got her,
because
she's harder worker than me.
Hopefully that has answered the question. It's probably a really in-depth way, but it's probably something that we've never really broke down for both sides before, so hopefully that answered that. Another question that we keep getting asked is, will we be getting any guests?
I don't know. Can we fit another seat in here, Curtis?
Yeah.
I mean, what would do?
Two more seats.
Two more seats.
Curtis saying 2 more seats.
I mean, Curtis has got 2 more seats in here for us, so we can get guests. I don't know about how it goes. We need to see. I'd imagine. Well, 2 more guests is actually quite good. Not in couples podcast, get couples guests, not on. Not I mean, maybe get a somebody that people want to hear fit, and then get their partner, and we can talk to them about their kind. I don't know. It's not really something we've discussed now about guests. We kind of just, as I said, gone with the flow. But if it's something that people want, I would imagine we would date. But I wouldn't want to. There's already 2 people on the podcast. I don't want to get too cluttered with too many other people. Yeah. So I'd imagine if we're getting guests, it'd be more 1.5. So.
Yeah, I think the short answer is yes. We will, but it's we've just not really discussed it. But if there is anybody that you can think of that you would really like us to talk to. People in my team and work were asking for Caden, which is one of the trainees in David's wrestling school. No, David will kill me for speaking about Caden, but Caden is dying
no, he does
to come
need
on.
no, he actually does need this, to be fair.
Yeah.
Poor boy, he just got a phone call, man. He needs to go to the hospital, get an x-ray because he might have a wee injury, you know what I mean? So he's obviously pure
Oh, that's
devastated,
a shame.
man, that he
But
might be out wrestling for a bit, man.
He's only 15, so maybe he's a wee bit young right now. He is turning 16 in October. But I mean, if there is any other suggestions, other people have been saying Big 50 or 50, as you will know him as, who is one of David's best pals, which he would probably be quite good to get because he has been mine and David's pals since the very first day we started going out with each other. Like, he was in the pub and all that ways when we first like got together and stuff. So, but again, any other suggestions, we're absolutely open to.
I'd be up for getting guests on as well, but as I said, it wouldn't be an every week thing, know what I mean? It's the Georgia and Ravie experience, not the Joe Rogan experience, know what I mean? Don't need guests to carry this podcast and just talk shit ourselves.
But to round this episode off, I'd say to David through the week that I had something I wanted to talk to him about on the podcast. This is something that I've just found out recently. And me and David, we were trying not to talk too much in the house about what we were going to say on the podcast. It probably helps as well that I work during the day and he works at night, so we're like ships in the night, we just miss each other. But were you aware that we're in the middle of a sassy man apocalypse?
What's that? What are you talking about?
Right, so in my work the other day, Caitlin in work had asked us in the team if we'd heard of the sassy man apocalypse. Have you ever heard of it before?
Except for the 4 times you've said it.
Twice.
A minute ago. I don't know exactly what I've heard sassy man apocalypse 4 times now.
So basically what it is a trend on TikTok where lassies are talking about how men are being sassy these days, and actually apparently there's sassier men out there than there is women. So I was like, I need to get involved in this. Why are you laughing, David? So I went on and checked the trends on TikTok and stuff, and a lot of the trends were people saying things about guys about like they block you, unblock you, block you, right? And I'm like, David's not a culprit for one of them. Other things they were saying were really funny about guys being sassy when they're running for the bus and all this stuff, right? Just completely, like, guys aren't allowed to do it these days because they're not safe. And I thought, how does David fit into this? And then I thought, there is one thing over the years that you've been pretty sassy about, and I think that we need to share it.
What is it?
So me and Bo moved in with you in 2016.
Yeah.
It became apparent really quickly that you came out the shower one day and you had 2 towels on. Right, and I thought, why has he got a towel on his head? He's got short hair. And I'm like, why you get 2 towels? And you said, what do you mean? I was like, you've got 2 towels on, like, you're not a woman, you've got short hair. And he was completely offended by this, and actually it transpired he'd been doing this his full life, and because he'd been brought up with his nana and his sister, who always had wore a turban after the shower, and he'd actually thought, right, okay, this is how you're meant to be. But that quickly came to a halt because I was like, we can't afford to keep washing 2 towels every time you go in the shower. So that's banned for us.
Aye, which really annoys me because it dries you quicker and all. I mean, you get it on your hair, then once you feel like your hair's dried, especially if you're a guy and you get short hair, it dries up quite quickly. I know what I mean. Then you put it on your shoulders and you can just sit there and just let it all dry. And obviously you get yourself a wee hing, you know what I mean. But it just dries, obviously, it's much easier. And obviously being a boy, and my nana and sister used to do it all the time. My nana had an abundance of towels, know what I mean. There's no problems with that. My nana rigged a lecky, to be honest. So, know what I mean. So don't really worry about that. But I'm not used to 2 towels anymore, know what I mean. I've also got a problem where Georgia uses towel. Georgia goes for a shower first, know what I mean. I just go in after that. I just see a towel, I grab it, man. Apparently she's used that towel and I'm not allowed to use it. It's a fucking house towel, know what I mean.
So I'll go in a shower, come out, and he'll go in after me, use the same towel as me. I'm like, that's no on.
We share the same bed, man. Like, we don't share the same towel, man. Fuck's sake.
Another thing I quite think you're quite sassy about is shampoo and conditioner.
I'm a tomato sauce. I'd say I thought it was actually tomato sauce you've got to bring up when you're saying quite sassy.
Sassy tomato sauce, I kind of get that, but sassy with shampoo and conditioner, and you'll only use ones that are matching, and the branded ones and all, they're only cheap. I'm just.
My hair's so bad, to be fair, man.
But I'm just really keen to know if you've been a victim out there of the sassy man apocalypse. Have you got any stories for us? And please write in and tell us, because we really want some audience participation here, and I know for a fact there'll be well more sassier men out there than Ravie Davie. And you need to write in and tell us.
I'm a man's man.
He's trying to sit there and be like, what do I do that's sassy?
No, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to think about manly things you do and try to find a name for it, not I mean?
He's got to come back next week with some things that I do that's manly. But I think that's it for us.
Don't know. Food review. Don't know if we didn't actually eat anything this week, but I went to McDonald's and they had new things on the menu, so I'll talk about it. In McDonald's, they've got 2 new McFlurries. They've got a Milky Bar one, Raspberry Ripple. I would definitely recommend that. It's a good 9 out of 10. Maybe even 10 out of 10, because I'm not a stickler for white chocolate. And then they also have the new wee cheesy garlic bites. Every time they just change it up now. It's either cheesy bites, mozzarella sticks. It's getting a bit boring. Not. I mean, we just need to solidify one of them on it and bring out new sides McDonald's. Doesn't say I didn't like them, right? But change it up, man. We need to why not some onion rings or something, man? Like a wee onion ring.
Burger King does onion rings.
I know, but McDonald's, they're the staple, know what I mean? And they always bring out new stuff every 2 months or something. So I feel like instead of just focus on the cheese thing, why not cheesy chips? Know what I mean? Like chips and cheese or something like that. Anyway, and then the real star of the show but was the birthday donut. They had this donut that had the jam inside with it, and it had the wee birthday sprinkles. I imagine it must be 50 years for McDonald's in the UK, and that's why they're doing it. So we're 10 years in McDonald's, 50 years in, celebrating my wee birthday donut, man. Grand that, honestly. I'd give a donut a 10 out of 10. I literally could eat that donut every day. That's my right. See 10 out of 10. See people say, oh, this food's 10 out of 10. Talk shite, because see if they can't eat it every day, and it's no 10 out of 10. Something that you could literally eat for 365 days a year, and I could probably eat that donut every day without fail and not get sick yet.
I apologise, I've got no food review updates to. But what I was going to say was David is, as I said, he's got to Ireland this week and you're going to Bristol, so you'll need to be eating some good food over the weekend, and then you'll need to report back to us.
Supermax Ireland Friday. I'm also got to meet in Bristol. One of the reasons that I've obviously the wrestle, but my mate Leighton, who is a wrestler from England, moved up to Scotland to become a wrestler. Basically, it was me and George's I don't know, wee brother or son, whatever you'd want to say, was like kind of looked after him his time up here. He got very big in the wrestling where he's ended up moving back to Bristol with his family. He's had an injury in that with his knee, so I wanted to pop down and see him, and I'm getting to wrestle as well with that and see some family that I've got living down there. So I'll definitely report back on all that. I'm not going to smash it, because that's what I do. Cup final player, 3 big matches in the bag.
So we will be back again with an episode next week. Now we have made some Instagram pages and stuff. If you could follow us, we would really appreciate it. The Instagram page is 10, as in the number 10, and then it has to be an underscore and years in. I actually messaged David, so I made the Instagram page and it wouldn't let me just write 10 years in, so I had to put the underscore in it, and I said, I've just realised that says 10 years sin. And I was like, oh God, I don't know if that's a good thing. But we're in the process of getting our TikTok set up. That should be done in the next few days. And once it is, we'll post it online. Or you can follow us, our own pages on TikTok if you don't already. My page is Getting Fit for 30, which desperately needs changed because I'm turning 33 in a couple of months.
And mine's is Ravie Davie, Fresh Prince, or I've got a backup, Ravie.Davie, but I want to change that to the account for the podcast to give us a head start with followers, but George has told me that if I don't get that sorted this week, we're just starting from scratch. So if the 10 Years In podcast has got 0 followers, then when you see it, or a low amount, then it's because I didn't get my finger out. But if you end up seeing 10 Years In on an account that you already follow, like, well, how did this podcast I've never seen before get this many followers? Then you know, because I did get my finger out. But see, I mean, I just go on tangents sometimes, but you like it, you'll find it funny. I actually thought she meant about the 10 years in thing, to be honest. When she said 10 years sin, it's because she goes to this gym thing called Sin, know what I mean? I thought that's what she meant. I thought she was like, oh look, we've got the same name as the wee gym that I go to.
No, 10 years sin.
10 years sin.
Right, anyways, that's us. Thanks for listening. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify.
Aye.
Leave us a review, please. We really appreciate it. We really need this.
Also, if this is the first episode that you've seen, there'll be another episode back. Go and check that out. And the thing that I'm not allowed to say on this podcast. There.
Thank you. Bye.